You can make some of the most unique arrangements by using gathered materials. It's so much fun to go out and gather materials that you wouldn't normally use on an everyday basis. So I have my greenery in my container. It's just Israeli ruscus and a little bit of leather leaf. I am going to take some white hydrangeas and I am removing the leaves. Now you want to remove the leaves. You don't always have to do this. I am removing the leaves because when you have a stem, you cut this stem at an angle and it's used just like a straw, right? So when you cut the stem and drop it in water, the flower will drink that water right up that stem. When there are leaves left on a hydrangea, and a hydrangea is an extremely water-loving flower, when the leaves are left on there, what has to happen is that water has to stop and water each individual leaf before it goes up to the head of the flower. Now, if you will pinch those off, you're bypassing that stop. It gets to go straight up to the head of the flower. And so sometimes when using flower like this hydrangea in fresh floral foam, it will help to keep that flower hydrated by being able to bypass those leaves. I'm taking my floral knife, cutting that stem at an angle, and I am dipping my stem right down into a quick dip. Now, quick dip is a hydrating solution that helps to keep my hydrangeas hydrated, okay? Now, at home, you probably do not have quick dip, and if you don't design flowers a lot, you don't really need to have quick dip at your house because it's just going to get old, right? But if you will go to your local grocery store and pick up some alum. Alum is going to be in the canning section of your local grocer, and you are going to be able to pick up some little powdered alum. Now, pickling alum is going to do exactly the same thing as my quick dip. What it does is it just causes the head of that flower to crisp, and it causes it to drink that water, to get really hydrated. And so it works perfect. You just get some pickling alum and dip those stems right down in that. So I'm using two pretty hydrangeas there. Next, we're going to come in with our roses. Now, these are called Playa Blanca roses. This is the white rose that I prefer for wedding flowers. It's such a beautiful bloom. Now, and it's usually a pretty true white, and so that's really nice. I'm going to take this rose, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to spin it in my hands. Now look at it. It is just kind of a tighter bud, right? I'm going to flip it over, be sure to remove the thorns, and I'm just rolling it right back and forth in my hands. And look how it opened that bloom. It's so pretty. I'm going to take and cut that stem at an angle and just nestle that rose right down into my container. I'm removing any of the petals that are bumped or bruised. You will find using white blooms that they do get bumped a little easier than average, okay? So they do show their bumps. Look at that. So, so, so pretty. White just shows its bumps and bruises, so you always want to be cautious and remove any of the petals that are bumped. Okay, so there's the bud. Flip it over, roll it back and forth in your hand. And it just opens right up. Now, I was teaching earlier today, and I was explaining to people that I don't normally open up blooms. I don't flare blooms like this if it's an arrangement that is going to a birthday or for a birthday, or if it's an arrangement going for an anniversary. I want those blooms to be tight and stay tight and pretty. When you flare the blooms, you are going to lose a little bit of its life. You don't want to manipulate them when they're for everyday work. You want them to stay as as long as possible, right? I want them to take their time to open up. But when I'm working with event work, you want your blooms to be prime. You want them to be as showy as possible. So you will turn them upside down and flare them open like this. These are Alstroemeria lilies, some pretty little white astros. And I'm just taking those and cutting those short. Now these flowers came from an event, and we took that arrangement apart and tucked them all into small buckets. And what we're doing with these flowers now is we are able to take them and arrange a smaller arrangement, and we're going to take them to a little lady who has lost a loved one. So often events you'll have leftover flowers, and so when you have those leftover flowers and they don't have any plans for them, they were just going to have you pick them up and discard them. If you'll take them and take them apart and then make a lovely arrangement to take to someone who needs a pick-me-up, it works out really nice. We've done that with events where we've taken the arrangements apart and took them to the care home and so on and so forth. So it works out really nice. So that's why all these stems are really short. But look at what a lovely arrangement this makes. Here's another rose. Remove those petals, turn it over, and just roll it back and forth in your hand. Look at that. Amazing. Y'all forgive me, I've had allergies so badly today. This is called Monte Cassino Aster. Monte Cassino Aster is in the aster family. It lasts a really long time. And it's such a pretty little filler. It almost looks like little white daisies. It's got little white blooms that look like daisies with a little yellow center. So it works out perfect. And then this is little baby's breath. Now this baby's breath is called Million Star Gyp. And it has tiny little blooms. So I'm just taking that little gyp and just kind of going all the way around. And you can see that this is kind of a hodgepodge arrangement. We had a couple of blooms of hydrangeas, 5 blooms of white roses. It had several stems of astros. And then these are little mini carnations. Now a mini carnation is just the miniature form of a standard carnation. And you can do them just exactly like you do a standard carnation. You can take that bloom, you can hold it in your hand, and then you can rub those blooms to open them up. Just kind of brush those little blooms and you can open them right up just like you do a standard carnation. Now always remember, keep in mind, anytime you go to open a bloom, the only flower that you can brush like that is a carnation. Do not brush any other blooms because you will bruise them, especially white blooms. This is stock. Some of the little buds on the bottom are a little faded, so I just pulled those off, remove any of the leaves that don't look pretty. Cut those stems at an angle and nestle that right down into that arrangement. All right, and here is our finished design. So look how simply those short blooms came together and made such a lovely arrangement. So we used hydrangeas and roses, Alstroemeria lilies, a few stems of mini carnations, mini white carnations, a couple of stems of white stock, and then our greenery was the leather leaf and Israeli ruscus. Again, if you go to the local grocer and they have beautiful blooms, come home, go out, harvest you some greenery, and then make a low compact arrangement just like this, just using the blooms that you purchase. Guys, thank y'all for being here. If you have any questions about how we make arrangements, you can always ask. Just drop a message right down below. Do me a great big favor. If you enjoyed this video and feel like you learned something, hit that thumbs up. The more you interact with our videos, the more we grow. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, and we will see you all real soon. Thanks, guys.